So you're thinking of doing some updates to your home, but you're not quite sure where to even start. What's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck? And maybe potentially is there something that's going to hurt my sales price? Today, we're going to be diving into all of that. What's going to give you the best ROI, what buyers actually care about in 2026, and also some things to avoid that could actually hurt your sales price. By the way, we're also going to be throwing in some low-cost, easy wins for those that don't necessarily have the capital but want to be making some improvements on their house. This is one of the most common questions that I get as a real estate advisor, and I can tell you after selling so many homes and being through what I feel like are thousands of homes, I have seen tried and true examples of what works, what doesn't really add to your home's value, and then what can actually take away from your sales price. We're going to be diving into all of that and so much more. By the way, if you are finding value from this channel, I would love it if you could give me a little bit of personal validation and like and subscribe these videos, because that helps us get in front of even more people and help as many people as possible. All right, so let's dive right into it. So let's start with the highest ROI in terms of home improvement projects. Then we'll cover what the buyers are actually asking for. So some of the upgrades that are consistently talked about as the best ROI when it's time to sell, first and foremost, the front door, right? We think about that first impression. You only get one shot at that. And if you nail it, you can get well above your sales price from that initial curb appeal. And that starts with the front door. It's one of the most underrated and high ROI upgrades you can make. Your front door sets the emotional tone for the entire showing. You can get fresh paint, updated hardware, or a full replacement that can instantly elevate your curb appeal. So this is where it's a moment of know thyself. If you have a newer home and you feel like your front door is pretty good, I would suggest then you don't need to do it. If you're feeling like, yeah, it's been 10, 20 years, 30 years or more since that front door has been updated, you may want to look into updating that. Another part of the curb appeal is the garage door. See, year after year, this also remains one of the top ROI improvements nationwide. Because if you think about it, it is a large visual surface. Buyers can see it immediately. And if you have a modern panel design, or if you get some upgraded color, it can make the entire exterior feel newer. Kitchen surfaces is probably going to be your next one. You don't need necessarily a full kitchen remodel. See, this is the biggest misnomer, is people think that, oh, I'm going to have to spend tens of thousands of dollars to upgrade to a modern kitchen, which, by the way, depending on the house, you may not necessarily want to have a modern kitchen. There are certain ways to do it and to do it right. Now, a lot of the times you'll want to add modern hardware where you get a newer faucet, newer appliances. The kitchen can feel more refreshed, more higher end, but you don't necessarily need to have all of the bells and whistles. Even if you're just simply replacing some old laminate with a granite or another solid surface countertop, that can make a huge difference in the long run. Another thing that I think oftentimes gets overlooked is the landscaping. If you do a landscaping refresh, that again speaks to that curb appeal that I was talking about in the previous section of this video. You trim the shrubs, you edge the lawn, you pull the weeds, you add fresh mulch, you plant seasonal flowers depending on what time of year that you're selling. These small updates often end up what I call being larger than the sum of its parts. And that will tell the story of the house. And again, buyers are looking at this from a holistic point of view, especially on that first showing before they're looking at some of the smaller things. And if you tell the story that your home is well maintained and well cared for, that's going to instantly add more value in the eyes of the buyer. Same with that curb appeal. Let's talk about exterior maintenance. So pressure washing, painting the trim, if you want to update the house numbers, or if you want to maybe modernize the mailbox, depending on your community, all of those are easy upgrades that can make the house look more well maintained. Oftentimes people ask me, Mackenzie, what is the best thing I can do for my home's value? What is the number one thing that I will get 100%, if not more, ROI? And I'm like, I know that answer easy, but it's going to surprise you, because that answer is maintenance. Yep, that's right. It's not updating the kitchen. It's not doing the garage door. It's not necessarily adding in all of the fancy bells and whistles that come with a modern house. It is taking good care of what you have, because that will show and give the buyer confidence that this house is well maintained for and that it will not be a money pit and that it limits their risk should they purchase the asset. So now let's talk about, okay, what are buyers actually asking for 2026? Here's the biggest shift that we're seeing right now. Buyers are done with this pandemic era purchases where if nothing was maintained and everything was outdated, people still paid top dollar. Those days are gone. Okay. The interest rates, they've come down a little bit. They're at about 6.25% nationwide, but for a while we were at 7%. And so if buyers were like, I'm going to be taking out a high interest rate loan, I'm going to be incredibly discerning about what homes I actually purchase or what I make an offer on. So they're more selective and they expect basic functionality. They want windows that open, okay? No broken seals, no mystery drafts. They want a furnace, an AC, and a water heater that actually work, okay? These are not nice to haves anymore. They are expected. And if your home does not have it, if you come to market with a lot of these basic functionality things not accounted for, you should expect to negotiate that and have some sort of plan to address that in escrow. And a big part of that too is that move-in readiness. Cleanliness is a value add 100% for 2026. Buyers want to feel like they can move in immediately. They don't want to feel like they have to take on someone else's projects or have to work on any deferred maintenance or things that should have been taken care of by the previous seller. If they do encounter that, buyers will absolutely be negotiating that during escrow and something to prepare for. Now, this is something that is dependent on the eyes of the buyer, but I do want to talk about it because I am seeing it more and more, and that is a modern aesthetic. Now, buyers visually, they date a house within seconds. And honestly, us as real estate advisors, we're doing the exact same thing. I mean, we're asking ourselves, is this home stuck in the 1970s, the 1990s, the early 2000s? Does it feel like it crossed past with the 2010s and it's into the 2025 era? Or do we really need to update some of the things because this is just stuck in the early aughts, if you will? Like, buyers today want neutral paint, they want clean carpet, they want updated lighting, white or light tone cabinets specifically are we seeing more and more common today, and they want simple, modern hardware. Counters that aren't the old laminate, and they're fixtures that aren't the early brass from the early 2000s, and they want details like loose railings, squeaky doors, or those burnt out bulbs. They want all of that addressed because, as it turns out, they all matter. Now, this is also a pet peeve of mine, and for me and particularly a good friend of mine. If you're watching this, you know who you are, and that is different toned or different hued light bulbs. Guys, I swear it is the easiest thing to fix. Just put uniform lighting in throughout the whole house. It will make your house feel just that much more expensive, and you do not need to spend a whole lot of money replacing it. Just pick the hue, pick the color that has the most amount of light bulbs throughout the house and add that. You don't want one room feeling this tone and another feeling this tone. Uniform lighting throughout the whole house. And a part of that efficiency too is the energy efficiency. Okay, we want efficient windows, we want sealed drafts, working AC, and those updated appliances. They aren't deal breakers, but they will absolutely help you in the long run. Okay, so now let's dive into some low-cost wins that will make a huge impact later on. These are first upgrades that I would recommend to almost any seller because they do deliver big impacts for a small investment. And going back to those bulbs, let's also talk about the light fixtures. If your fixtures haven't been fixed or updated in 15 to 20 years, they are dating your home. You want to swap them for simple, modern designs. You don't need these high-end fixtures. You just need current, updated ones that don't speak like you're still stuck in the early 2000s and wearing a bunch of friendship bracelets and puka necklaces. Let's talk about hardware. Door handles, cabinet pulls, faucets, bathroom hardware, all of these are inexpensive and instantly modernize the home. This alone can move a home out of the updated category and into a move-in ready home that is ready for their next buyer. Let's talk about the flooring, okay? Let's play clean or replace. Now, carpets, you must clean no matter what, no exceptions. I don't care if it is spotless and you felt like Sparky has never peed on it and you feel like it is ready to go to market. If you have not cleaned and done a deep clean for resale, I promise you your carpets are going to need to be cleaned. First of all, one, if you haven't done that, gross. Two, that is an investment that will absolutely pay for itself and then some. If it's stained or worn, then you will need to replace it, okay, for the same exact reasons that I've mentioned. Now, one replacement that you could be looking at is LVP, which is luxury vinyl plank. It's very hit or miss for me, and it's dependent on the house, because especially if you have an older house that has a lot of charismatic elements to it, it's replacing the flooring and putting LVP is just going to be tacky, and it's going to feel like you're putting lipstick on a pig. So please do not do that. But it is everywhere now, and frankly, in the scheme of flooring options, LVP is an affordable replacement, and buyers are pretty comfortable with it because they know exactly what it costs in terms of replacement and maintenance. Now, fresh paint is, I swear, still one of the single highest ROI projects you can do in residential real estate. If you have a clean, modern, neutral color, it will brighten the home and it will make it feel bigger, newer, and more cohesive as well. Going back to that landscaping feel, if you don't have the resources to update your full face so that you get a full facelift on the exterior, something is doing just adding fresh mulch. I mean, these are a couple of bucks a bag, and if you put fresh mulch across the landscaping or the sidewalk, depending on the house, that is the least expensive way to deliver the highest ROI in terms of that curb appeal. So some people always talk about, like, is fresh paint the way to go, or do I necessarily, like, should I get a new furnace? Now, buyers expect a furnace to work, but they don't necessarily need it to be the newest and greatest. They just want it to work. And if you've shown that you've taken the yearly maintenance and you've taken that seriously and you've done that, then I would say let's not necessarily add a new furnace if it's working fine. Because again, they just expect it to work. Same with most of the mechanicals. If you haven't updated, though, the paint, and even if there's not necessarily a whole lot of blemishes, if you haven't given it a facelift, paint is by far and away going to be the best thing to do to sell the house. And key point, cosmetics sell the house. Mechanicals sell the inspection. Now, a lot of times folks will do whatever they can to sell the house, but then they won't actually do anything to address what is going to come up during inspection, and they end up netting less in the long run had they actually taken their due diligence in order to address anything that they feel might come up during the inspection. Now, if you have a working furnace and working mechanicals, any good inspector is going to say, hey, these are working, you guys are good to go. You don't necessarily need to negotiate this. Now, we tell buyers all the time, if you buy the ugly house with good bones, that's going to lead to better long-term expectations. It's the home that nobody wants. It has the older paint, older carpet, maybe grandma's curtains, but the roof, siding, windows, and mechanicals are all solid. Now, flip it. Imagine that there is an older house with older mechanicals and a roof that's approaching the end of its life, but it has fresh paint, new carpet, updated counters, modern lighting, and stylish hardware. Which one sells first? It's the pretty one, every time, and usually for more than it should. See, this is one of the biggest points of frustration with buyers, is they walk away from solid houses because they can't see past the cosmetic issues, yet the pretty home with the aging mechanicals sell overnight. See, cosmetics are emotional, and emotion is what drives residential real estate. So finally, if you want to know exactly which improvements add the most amount of value to your home, not just generic advice, but you're looking for a specific property, I am here to be a resource for you, and I would love to help give you a honey-do list of things to do over the winter so that you are ready come 2026. Are you working on anything specifically with your house? I would love to know. Have you recently done a resale transaction and you found certain projects to give you the most amount of ROI? I'm curious, have you experienced that? And I would love to know what your thoughts are on all of this. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe again, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Okay, bye now.